Alright guys, welcome back to another week of day trading, and this was one tough week, I'm not gonna hold you. Last week we end up with real nothing burger with just one loss. Honestly, last week was looking pretty juicy compared to this week, and the main reason for the struggle was, well, I'll get into it in the video, but yeah, you guys will see how we end off this month of May. Okay, guys, I really do not want to talk about Tuesday. Alright, but getting into it, looking at the high time frame, we are getting a nice bounce off of the 4-hour and 1-hour imbalances. And zooming into the low time frame, we do have some supporting levels that price still hadn't retested yet. And with price stalling but still maintaining an uptrend, I do think we could revisit this level before getting a nice bounce. It's nice because the supporting level is also the discount of the range, so that adds even more narrative to the setup. And honestly, I found my setup pretty quickly after price got a powerful shift lower with good volume. And I did note that we also had a bearish CMT, which it just tied the knot on the setup being A+. And with the shift being so clean, I did decide to just take the setup there, as I was aiming for a smaller target of the 50-minute order block. But market open hit and price immediately got a pump higher and kicked us right out of the trade. And you know what's the worst part? This shit ran hella hard. I'm not even joking. Like, thinking back on the setups today, I think the read on the narrative and the price action was really good, because you can see that price did run really well to the target, and it's more of my execution that was a problem. At the moment, I was thinking, you know, since we do have an SMT and a strong shift, I could take the setup there with it being a smaller retrace trade, but that wasn't enough, as the small pop higher during market open was the sole thing that messed me up, so I really do need to be more careful of that. It's all good though. I think this is just how trading is sometimes. I just gotta keep a healthy mental and learn from my mistakes. Alrighty, looking at price, we did just get smacked down hard with price developing this huge wick on the hourly, and we can see that we developed an inverse on the lower time frame, so perhaps we could get a bit of a push lower. I don't think this move would be too drastic though, since we are still within a buy trend, so price pushing lower wouldn't realistically fit the narrative too well, but we will just be patient and let price do its thing. And coming into the session, we just continued lower with strong volume, and the shift was low-key not slowing down at all, and to the point we formed a shift on the 15-minute lower, but at this point we did just start stalling on the lower time frame, so I do see some potential for a retrace play here. And with price finally getting a decent shift on the 1 minute, I did decide to enter for longs targeting just a small 1-to-1. And this trade started off pretty solid with us getting a clean push higher. Volume was pretty dead at this point since it was a bit later in the session, but it's all good. Okay, maybe not so much, but we did recover nicely here, so it was just a waiting game at this point, and we got a clean push higher past the external high, which is where I did move to break even, but after that we just kept on chopping for a while. Like, this was honestly insane. After waiting a long ass time, we did finally just get tapped out at break even. Okay, today's setup was pretty alright, but it is pretty expected for us to break even there since volume is really dead from that expansion earlier in the session, but I reckon the read was pretty good since we do need to rebalance after getting such a big move like today. But yeah, I think it's all good. We'll just move on to tomorrow and we'll see if we get any cleaner trades. Okay, so coming into the high time frame on Thursday, price did have some really clear bullish structure, with there being a 4-hour wick showing weak sell pressure and an early inverse that price was bouncing off of. And the current volume on the low time frame is a little insane though, with us not stopping at all, and we are getting pretty close to taking us on those highs, so seeing the reaction from there would decide how I play today. The setup for me did honestly come pretty quickly, as price did get a nice bounce to retest the support level cleanly, and since this retest was really nice and we were showing signs of weaker power with a wick forming, I was just waiting for a strong push lower to get me into the setup. And the next candle we did end up getting a 1-minute IFG, which is where I did decide to enter. But price immediately started stalling, and to be honest, I was thinking that my trade was a bit too tight since we could sweep the recent highs from market open before we get the proper down move. And because of that, I did take out a few contracts a bit earlier to widen up my stop, anticipating a little bit of a surge. And I was still pretty confident that we would continue lower though. The price had other plans as we pumped up with crazy volume and tagged us out the trade. And you know what's the worst part? Alright, yeah. I made the same mistake as Tuesday. I can't lie, it was stupid of me to enter so early. I could read price, but I just couldn't execute at the right time, and that's what's causing me to take these losses. And it's really unfortunate because I am taking the trade off of shifts, but I think regardless, being too close to market open messes me up more often than not. So yeah, I really just need to make the adjustment to not trade as early. But yeah, it's alright. It sucks, but an individual loser isn't gonna kill me. I'm just gonna go back and reflect on what I could have done better and backtest it so I can give myself the best chance when I come back. Alrighty guys, so looking at Friday, I didn't end up trading today because obviously diabolical performance from me throughout the week, so just took the day off and then I'm just gonna come back to backtest it. But looking at the day, we look like we were just consolidating throughout the entire day before we got a pop-up near market open, and we just got a heavy pump up throughout that entire market open section. And coming into later on in the session, because high time frame we would have looked to be quite bearish, but we had this unswept out prominent high. We were continuing higher with some bullish structure, but we failed to continue higher from this wick. Then we wicked higher again, so obviously it doesn't seem to be very strong bullish power, and I would probably anticipate maybe a sell-off, especially because we could fill in this massive gap lower as well. But looking at the low time frame, we ended up just sweeping the low and then continuing higher, and then yeah, that crazy pop-up during market open was pretty crazy. Wouldn't have been the cleanest to go for because like during macro, which is like near the latest where I would enter my setup, we were still continuing to pump up, and I don't really like jumping into these continuations that often, more because I don't think it's worth going for the move when it's expanded so much already. I'd rather see a rebalance first. But yeah, this is something I would have more likely avoided, so yeah, it's alright. I avoided trading today, so yeah, it's chill. Alrighty boys, that ends off this week and also the month of May. Not the cleanest way to end off the month, but I do know that this performance is all due to me not holding enough patience. Like, I'm sure there are some people out there who trade really similarly to how I do, but because they could maintain the patience to wait, they could be saying May is one of the most fire months they've had, and that's the differentiating factor from me and that other person. It's alright though, we do make mistakes and it's not optimal to make them obviously, but that's what's going to help reinforce better habits and even more consistency moving forward. You don't need to be perfect with this, you know, just doing enough consistently over a long period and we'll be chilling. But yeah, otherwise I think performance wasn't that great, but yeah, we'll be back next week even stronger. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.